Post was really deep in the genre of hip-hop, and then suddenly, as time passed, he slowly but surely started shifting his focus. Imagine going from looking like this to looking like this. Was he being a culture vulture, or was he being genuine? People then discovered something about his past, which was the word. He said the word. The whole world came crashing down on Post. People wanted him gone. And that's why Post Malone abandoned hip-hop. Austin Richard Post, a 29-year-old singer, songwriter, and rapper who was born in Syracuse, New York. Post Malone is a worldwide known superstar, a guy who's made a lot of hits in the music industry over the span of almost the last decade. He's someone who started off gaining a lot of traction within the hip-hop space, and then later on transitioned to the pop world. In this video, I want to talk about why Post Malone ended up abandoning hip-hop. In 2015, the trajectory of a 19-year-old Post Malone's future was about to change. This was sometime after he had moved to Los Angeles to pursue his music dream. Post enrolled into the Tarrant County College, but ended up dropping out after 6 months because he felt like his life wasn't progressing. Next thing you know, he rents a house in Encino, Los Angeles, and Post said that he had to make it work. It was do or die, and he kept his promise, because shortly after that, on February 2015, he dropped the song White Iverson. The record gained popularity really fast, thanks to the power of the internet and social media. Post dropped the song on SoundCloud. He woke up one day, and the next thing you know, his song is just going crazy in numbers. And that's when he knew that all of his dreams were coming to fruition right in front of his eyes.
One day I woke up and the song had crazy views and everybody was rocking with it, so it was just crazy.
So it made you want to go and make more music though, right?
Make more music, always.
White Iverson was an undeniably hot record. He definitely captured the essence of an emerging sound, turned it into something unique, and ran with it. After getting co-signed by a lot of notable names during that time, like Wiz Khalifa and Mac Miller, rest in peace to Mac, and as the song and music video started rapidly climbing in numbers, Post was officially the hottest free agent on the market, and the record labels, they wanted a piece of the pie. Later that year, he ended up signing a record deal with Republic Records. He was officially a rising star in the music industry. Now this is when things started going left. Although Post Malone was seeing a lot of success with White Iverson and was now on his very big platform, there are a lot of very negative things that were coming his way as a result of the success. For starters, Post Malone had a very, what some people would call, provocative image. I'm talking the gold grills, the braids, the style. I mean, people knew that this was a white guy who grew up in Texas, whose name was Austin. I'm sure you know where this conversation is going. Post Malone became a target for the culture vulture comments and accusations. The beginning of the chaos for Post Malone started with this guy right here, Charlamagne the God. During the height of his blow-up in 2015, Post Malone decided to go on The Breakfast Club, which is a radio station based in New York. Unbeknownst to Austin, this was not going to be a regular press run at all. Post Malone ended up getting grilled during this interview. This was one of the first major publications he went on, and Post was not expecting any of the things that were about to come his way. The interview started off fairly innocent. Post was being asked about questions relating to his upbringing and his musical background. Things eventually took a turn for the worse just a few minutes later when he got asked this question right here.
What are you doing for the Black Lives Matter movement?
What? For a second, he was at a loss for words. He couldn't believe his ears. I mean, he was expecting to go on this interview to talk about his music and his story. And then the next second, Charlamagne the God is asking him about Black Lives Matter. So for him, it was kind of random and he was a little bit thrown off. He did, however, answer the question in his own way. He didn't outright say, "This is what I'm doing for BLM," but he did tell the story of Christian Taylor, who was a young black teen out of Texas, who got killed by law enforcement that particular year. Christian, in a series of tweets, openly addressed his fears about his safety and questioned law enforcement on social media. In the midst of these tweets, he tweeted a line from Post Malone's song, Too Young, and the lyrics were, "I don't want to die too young." He sadly got gunned down by police a week later after he broke into a dealership. The young man was unarmed and they didn't have to take his life.
Before that happened, you know, he tweeted the lyrics to my song, which was like, it was like prophetic.
What was the lyrics?
I don't want to die too young.
Wow.
That's crazy that he was listening to my song and he tweeted it and it happened, you know? It's wild and I don't know what to...
What that have to do with Black Lives Matter?
Nothing. I'm just saying that's an instance of like that.
So Post Malone told this story, which I thought was very poignant, but Charlamagne the God was not satisfied. Charlamagne the God also told his girlfriend, who was present during the interview, that Post Malone was eventually gonna cheat on her.
You know he's gonna sleep with other women though. You do know that. Are you aware of that?
He's gonna what?
He's gonna sleep with other women.
No, I'm not.
No.
Now this interview did actually spark an entire conversation about this new star that was Post Malone. A lot of people stamped him as a culture vulture after this, and yeah, that was that. Despite this, he did continue to climb. That was until a discovery was made. An old clip of Post Malone saying the N-word when he was young surfaced on the internet.
Yeah, we watched Too Cute, nigga.
Now this created a shitstorm on top of the ongoing shitstorm he was already facing. I mean, just imagine being labeled a culture vulture as a white rapper in a black genre, and next thing you know, a video surfaces of you saying Niggas. Post ended up receiving a lot of backlash for this. The video went viral on social media and a lot of people saw it. He ended up responding to the backlash by saying, "Hey, I was 16 years old, I made a mistake by saying it, and I can't do nothing but take it back." The culture was of course not so quick to forgive him, because a lot of people felt like he was definitely a culture vulture after this. Now, aside from the N-word controversy, the next year Post Malone found himself with some very deep controversy as he made some comments about hip-hop as a genre. You might remember this particular story. I covered it back in the day, and it went viral. Post was doing an interview with a Polish publication back in 2017, and the comments were as follows. "If you're looking for lyrics, if you're looking to cry, if you're looking to think about life, don't listen to hip-hop. There's great hip-hop songs where they talk about life and where they spit that real, but right now, there's not a lot of people talking about real stuff. Whenever I want to cry, whenever I want to sit down and have a nice cry, I'll listen to some Bob Dylan. Or whenever I'm trying to have a good time and stay in a positive mood, I'll listen to hip-hop because it's fun. I think hip-hop is important because it brings people together in a beautiful way. Everybody's happy." Now, this moment was actually worse than the N-word backlash. Post Malone had at this point profited greatly from the hip-hop culture, and at this stage, he was well on his way to superstar level. Not only did he have the culture vulture comments attached to his name and brand, but here he was on record saying don't listen to hip-hop, and that's of course the only thing people heard. The rest was irrelevant because this was the kind of thing that should have never came out of his mouth. I'm sure he was feeling very comfortable during that interview, and probably didn't think twice about saying what he said. Personally, I was very thrown off by what he said. Even though he did follow it up with his love for the genre, Post was already in a very vulnerable and precarious state due to the culture vulture reputation he had built around his name. So for him to say this, no bueno. As the backlash started to pour in, Post Malone put up a lengthy video on social media explaining his comments in depth, and this is what he said.
You know, what I was trying to say is that a lot of people, except for a handful of artists, are saying the same shit. They're not saying anything super meaningful. And I'm 22 years old. I have not had all the life experience in the world to talk about the most meaningful shit. I just sing about what I have gone through, what's going on in my life, and what I want to sing about. Never once did I say that I don't appreciate hip-hop. I'm just trying to keep living and make the music that I love. Thank you.
Although I do appreciate his willingness to be so authentic in a moment of disarray, if you will, this did leave a bad taste in my mouth, no diddy. Mainly because I don't know what would prompt him to even vocalize it in this way, especially knowing the things you've been through in relation to this conversation. It came off as tone deaf and ungrateful for the position he was in, which at the end of the day was thanks to hip-hop. That's not something anyone can deny. Post Malone was actually never able to recover from the damage this did to his reputation as it relates to hip-hop. Now, reputation aside, Post kept on climbing numbers-wise. He dropped a lot of hits after that and eventually became one of the most accomplished young artists in the music industry. As time passed, however, people noticed that Post wasn't very focused on staying in the hip-hop bubble. Was he just tired of the genre? Or did he want to pivot by making a jump into another space? The one thing I can say personally about Post is that he makes the best music when he's actually not making hip-hop inspired records. Even from the start, I always had a feeling that he would at some point make that leap into solidifying his name as a pop star, because those were songs that people gravitated towards from him the most. A few months ago, Post Malone dropped a new album, F1 Trillion, which is a full-length country album, something we got a peek of on his first album, Stoney. Now he's actually a full-on country artist, and this actually came with some backlash. Not the album in particular, but some comments that he made during a press run for the album.
How did that feel to you?
It sucked.
Yeah,
I was a kid.
1920. How did you deal with it?
Drink a lot.
Yeah. Did you take it personally? Because I imagine...
Absolutely. It's hard not to.
Post Malone said that he was not dealing with a lot of the negative feedback that he received during that time in 2015 very well. He turned to alcohol to numb the pain. Now, this brought back the culture vulture conversation to the surface, and a lot of people were giving Post Malone the digital beats, saying that he was doing all this for sympathy because, like I said earlier, he never managed to make himself whole, again, at least in relation to hip-hop. I do think it's very hard to deny that he used hip-hop as a stepping stone, because during the time when Post Malone was coming up, there was a demand for the particular sound he came with, and he ended up capitalizing on it, and he eventually succeeded. It works in hip-hop because the threshold for what can become popular is very low. Now, Post Malone has always been talented, so personally, I don't think that applies to him. As for why he abandoned hip-hop, I think it comes down to a few different reasons, but one major: he didn't need to be in the hip-hop space to thrive. Not only that, but if you really think about it, Post Malone's core audience ended up being outside of hip-hop, even very early on in his career. And now he's literally at the top as far as mainstream acts in the game. And ever since he entered the music industry, he managed to make that transition fairly smoothly. Another aspect is hip-hop wasn't really even messing with Post Malone after what he said, and the culture just didn't really like the way he came across. If there's one thing hip-hop doesn't like, it's culture vultures, and we all know this. Just take a look at the response people have had towards Drake throughout the years. As much as I've enjoyed his hip-hop inspired music, I think Post Malone is a way better pop star than a rapper. Now he's a full-on country artist, so he's officially moved on to the country scene, and his artistic expression means that he can do that. The initial audience he cultivated was thanks to hip-hop, but as time kept on passing, Post reached a global audience that stayed for his pop records and not his hip-hop inspired music. And that's why Post Malone abandoned hip-hop. He just didn't need it anymore. Anyway, if you made it this far, that means that you enjoyed this video, okay? So drop a like on this video. I appreciate you guys for making it all the way till the end. Thank you so much. If you're new here, my name is Blacky Speaks. Thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the family. Any thoughts on this conversation regarding why Post Malone abandoned hip-hop? Do you agree with my perspective? Do you have anything to add? Any type of insight? I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say, so I'll catch you in the comment section below. But most importantly of all, I'll catch you on the next video. Peace. I'm out.